Imagine an $8 million cargo ship packed with $12 million in goods catching fire in the middle of the ocean. To stop the blaze from spreading, the captain makes immediate destructive choices. They cut through a $70,000 steel bulkhead and flood a cargo hold with seawater, ruining $300,000 of perfectly good inventory. As a final measure to save the vessel, they call in specialized emergency tugs to extinguish the blaze, generating a massive $750,000 price tag. The flames go out, and the vessel limps into port. The voyage is technically successful, but the ship is severely damaged and staring down a multi-million-dollar financial crater. Surviving the flames is only the first step. The physical emergency instantly becomes a chaotic, high-stakes legal dispute over exactly who has to pay for all that destruction. If $900,000 of your cargo burns up in the initial fire, that is an unfortunate accident. You take the loss. But consider the cargo that was completely untouched by the fire, only to be intentionally flooded by the captain's fire hoses to keep the flames from reaching someone else's goods. Why should one merchant be forced to eat a $300,000 loss simply because their specific crates were chosen as the sacrifice to save the rest of the ship? To solve this exact problem, maritime law relies on a centuries-old concept known as general average. This strict mathematical framework takes the chaos of individual bad luck and heroic sacrifice and converts it into a perfectly balanced financial burden shared by everyone who survived. The first step is a forensic audit to sort the damage into two distinct categories. Standard accident damage, known as particular average, is paid by the individual property owner. But deliberate sacrifices, known as general average, are shared by the entire community. The fire itself caused $500,000 in damage to the ship and burned $900,000 in cargo. Since these were pure accidents, they fall entirely on the individual owners. Then we have the deliberate choices made to fight the blaze, the $70,000 destroyed bulkhead, the $300,000 in water-ruined cargo, and the $750,000 emergency tug bill. Add those together, and you get a total community bill of $1,120,000. This represents an exact accounting of every dollar intentionally destroyed to save the voyage. The surviving community is now legally required to pay it back. To figure out who pays what, investigators must establish the tax base. You cannot charge a merchant for property that burned to ash. You can only tax the value of the property that actually made it to port. We start by looking at this ledger to calculate the ship's contributing value. We take its original $8 million value, subtract all the damages it sustained, and then add back a $70,000 allowance for the sacrificed bulkhead. That leaves the ship at a final value of $7.5 million. Next, we do the same for the cargo. We take the $12 million in original inventory, deduct all the destroyed goods, and add back the allowance for the water-ruined cargo. The cargo's surviving value comes out to $11.1 million. Finally, we calculate the remaining ship fuel, or bunkers. They started at $40,000, consumed $15,000 before the fire, leaving $25,000. Add all three contributing interests together, and we reach a total surviving value of $18,625,000. This is the exact pool of rescued wealth that must absorb the blow of the $1.12 million sacrifice. To find out what everyone owes, investigators divide the total sacrifices by the total surviving wealth. This equation divides the $1,120,000 community bill by the $18.6 million surviving value. This calculates out to exactly 6.0134%. This rate is a flat, inescapable tax applied equally to every single party that made it safely back to port. By applying this single democratized percentage, the law forces everyone to share the financial pain of the crisis, no matter whose specific property was destroyed in the process. Looking at the final ledger, applying that 6% rate to the ship owner's surviving value means they paid just over $451,000. The collective cargo owners pay roughly $667,000, and fuel owners owe $1,500. All of those payments go directly into a central pool, which is immediately redistributed to the merchants whose cargo was ruined by water and the ship owner whose bulkhead was destroyed. The math works out perfectly. The ledgers are balanced, and the parties chosen to bear the brunt of the sacrifice are made entirely whole by the community they saved. Beneath all this accounting is the terrifying reality of a captain commanding a burning vessel in open water. Without this legal structure, a captain might hesitate to flood a cargo hold. They would know that destroying $300,000 of inventory could trigger endless lawsuits and bankrupt their company. The concept of general average eliminates that hesitation entirely. It gives the captain absolute freedom to destroy whatever property is necessary to put out the fire and save human lives. This centuries-old accounting formula operates as a profound psychological tool, guaranteeing that our survival on the high seas is always a shared responsibility.